love South Africa. Make sure that South Africa, you are counted with me. Run South Africa. Stand and make sure that our people understand that the need to bring revolution in South Africa is guaranteed that under the EFF, this country will be the better. EFF is a tobatengi.
Happy birthday, fighter.
July 26, 2013 was a watershed moment for the EFF. CIC, the EFF was born, and South Africa saw something that they've never seen before. Today, 11 years later, the EFF is turning 11. What a journey.
Well, it has been a very interesting journey, and a learning curve, an exciting journey. And we think that we took the right decision. Yeah.
And the EFF now in the 7th Parliament has come back robust and much stronger, which led to some people calling you that, well, you are playing the man and not playing the ball. Now, the question is, how are we going to hold the executive to account, particularly the sitting president who has a case to answer with regards to the Parliamentary?
Well, you can't play the ball and not know the strength and the weaknesses of the player. You need to know your opponent's capacity, and you need to know to what extent you can, dribble this player and end up scoring the ball. So you can't just. That's why even in literal football, the people watch the previous games to look at who are the strikers, who's back and who's left also. So now, to say you can't play the ball, you can't play the man, play the ball, that is just trying to silence us. Because we have never played the man, we always played the ball. I'm very proud of the EFF in the 7th Parliament, highly organized. On Friday, we are going to have a recess of Parliament. And if you take the last days of Parliament, it is the EFF that led all kinds of discussions, be it in the committees, be it in the mini plenaries, be it in the main plenary. We have taken a decision to be that effective opposition and play our role with regard to that.
And we have seen, President, in the African countries, Uganda, Kenya, people taking to the streets, holding anti-government protests. And one wonders, with the GNU now, what is South Africa waiting for?
Well, GNU will self-destruct. It will collapse on its own. And the progressive forces will take over this country. We're dealing with politicians who suffer from egoism, the inability to just drop their ego and look at what is in the best interest of the working class and the people of South Africa. Ours does not even need the streets. I can tell you now that it is not united as it wants to project itself, because there are serious policy differences. They are not imaginary. But ideologically as well, you have a situation where you go in bed with the representatives of what you have characterized as your opponent, because the opponent of the former liberation movement is monopoly capital. We characterize it as white monopoly capital. They call it monopoly capital. Of course, capital knows no color, but the South African one knows the color because it is purely white. And those people who control the means of production don't want to let go. And then you say, no, their representatives are the better candidate to work with. To work with those people means the status quo must remain. And that our people are not going to tolerate for long.
Absolutely. Well, let's get the ball rolling. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. This is the EFF podcast, and welcome to this week's edition of the EFF podcast. My name is Titus Tsungu, Erkotsera Msengo Natswalek, and we're coming to you from Winnie Mandela House here in Johannesburg. And today we're truly honored to be joined by the President and the Commander-in-Chief of the EFF, CIC Julius Malema. Mushabe, Tobel. And welcome to the EFF podcast.
Thank you. I'm
Now,
happy to be here.
Thank you. So, the EFF is turning 11. What a journey. July 26, 2013, watershed moment. Are you proud at all of what the EFF was able to achieve over the years? And if so, what are some of the key milestones that the EFF was able to achieve?
Well, I'm very proud of the achievements of the EFF since its formation. The first is the ability to build an organization itself, which has got branches, which has got structures at all levels, and is able to hold its own conferences, elective conferences, regularly, and elect its own leadership in a democratic manner. Because it has proven to be a bit difficult with other political parties to form a party and then build it into a formidable force. That's what the EFF is. The EFF then made the South African politics exciting by reviving the youth interest into politics. And to a particular extent, you can speak confidently about the youth apathy when it comes to issues of politics. EFF then went to Parliament with very few numbers when it started in the first term, but was able to put the land question very firmly on the table of South Africa. The EFF was able to put firmly the minimum wage that we are talking about today. The EFF is the one that has been pushing in Parliament the scrapping of student debt. And the EFF has actually restored the confidence of the black people and Africans in particular, because wherever they see racism raising its ugly head, they are able to confront it thanks to the EFF, because they know that there is a weapon they can use to defeat racism. So we are proud that we did not only inspire the South Africans. There are a lot of emerging EFF in the African continent.
Absolutely.
Because of the inspiration of the South African EFF. And they're advocating for the unity of African people and the unity of our continent. It's what is very important, because the rulers survive through divide and rule. And the EFF is trying by all means to unite Africa. We were the ones who fought corruption in this country. If you remember, the payback the money issue,
Yes.
Today Phala issue, and any kind of corrupt activities in this country, the people who are at the center of exposing that is the EFF. And the ability to hold the executive accountable. And we also managed to actually strengthen through the courts the office of the public protector. Because if it was not the EFF, people will still be looking at that office as an office that merely makes recommendations which are not binding. It is the EFF that said the public protector's office has got powers, and those powers are binding. So, and that was in the best interest of strengthening democracy, because Chapter 9 institutions are there to secure our democracy.
And you talked about the EFF obviously extending its footprint in African countries. We've seen in Namibia, the EFF has been deregistered. Your view on that?
Those are undemocratic practices which are unacceptable. And I've seen Advocate Mpofu getting involved because we can't allow that. We can't allow a situation where the ruling party uses its power to muzzle and silence those they disagree with. There is no way they will succeed in suppressing the emergence of the EFF in Namibia. Remember, in Namibia, we also have representatives in the parliament of Namibia. So they can see that this organization is growing, and now they are trying monkey tricks to try and silence the growth of the EFF in Namibia.
And with regards to other countries, are we planning to expand our footprint to other African countries beyond Namibia and Zimbabwe?
Well, we are trying to expand beyond the SADC region because we believe that the whole continent must realize economic freedom in our lifetime. The economic freedom, if attained in South Africa, will not be any impactful because the entire continent does not own its own land. So we want African continent to own its own land. And once we realize the total liberation of Africa economically, then we know we are good to prosper because our minerals will now benefit the people of Africa. That's where our interest is. And as a result, we have had interesting developments in many other countries in the continent where people are saying, please help us, we want to establish the EFF.
And the EFF is an economic emancipation movement with a progressive internationalist outlook. Now, you have always advocated for a borderless Africa, and this is where many confusions arise. They might be deliberate confusions and misconstrued. Now, what is the EFF's approach when it comes to implementing the foreign policy in as far as your approach or your vision for a borderless Africa is concerned?
We have to gradually, through consultation with the rest of other African countries, gradually do away with borders to ease the movement of goods and services, including movement of people, because we will not be able to grow economically and even develop ourselves if we are relying on artificial borders. I mean, it should be easy for you to wake up in the morning, catch a flight, go to DRC, go and do whatever you want to do, and then come back if you so wish. But it is not possible in many other African countries because we require all types of documents from each other. And as a result, you realize that this is becoming just too much for me. Let me abandon this trip. So it should be easy because we're one thing. And nowhere in the documents of the EFF do you find any piece that says people must be undocumented. Because that's what they are saying, that no, we want to bring undocumented people. Okay, we are documented ourselves. If we're advocating for people to be undocumented, we will actually go and then, withdraw our citizenship and hand over these IDs to these people and say, we are born of God and therefore we don't need any man to certify us. We're not advocating for that. We're advocating for borderless Africa that will have peace and stability, that will be free from crime, that will be free from drugs, because it will be easy to follow up on individuals who are committing crime in other parts of the continent. And it doesn't even mean that those people are going to leave their countries and come here. It's not true. I mean, we have borderless South Africa, but we still have people in the poor areas of Limpopo. They've not abandoned their homes and say, we're going to Johannesburg because there is no border between Limpopo and Johannesburg. It's not true. I mean, why would it start outside? Why is it not starting in the poverty-stricken village of Zingi in Guyane? If poverty will move people to where there are greener pastures if there is no border.
It's not scientific.
It's not scientific. And Europe is borderless. You can wake up in Italy and then go and eat breakfast in Germany, and then go and eat dinner in Paris, and then go back to Italy. Same day. They are doing it, but they say we must not do it. Their movement is so easy and makes economic sense to trade with each other, because it will not be a difficult task to get the goods across. It will not be a difficult task to get us to meet. So when it is said by Helen Zille, no one has a problem with it. When it is said by current Minister of Home Affairs, who says, I'm going to speed up the work visas for foreigners to come into the country, no one has got a problem with that. So you realize they don't have a problem with the issue. They've got a problem with the person who's raising the issue. And for as long as it comes from Malema, we're not going to accept it.
Yeah. And now there's a story about Miss SA contestant whose eligibility to contest is being questioned because it is alleged that her father is of Nigerian descent, while her mother is of Mozambican descent. Do you think we shouldn't have somebody representing South Africa with their history or their parents being foreign nationals?
Your citizenship is determined by where you were born. So if she was born here, she's South African. It doesn't matter who they are. She's not her parents. She's herself. So why do you want to say she's from Nigeria or she's from Mozambique? She was born here. In America, actually, I don't know how many months. If I'm not wrong, if you are 6 months pregnant or so, they don't allow you to visit. Because they know that once you visit and you stay there and you give birth there, that child is American. Yeah, they know that as long you don't have to be American.
Yeah,
it's born in a hospital there.
Yeah,
must be certified immediately that this is the child who was born in America. This is an American citizen. So we can't do that. We cannot punish people on the basis of where their parents come from.
Yeah.
So I've not followed the debate. I don't know if she's South African or not. But I would guess the Miss South Africa company would have done the necessary due diligence and come to a conclusion that she's a suitable candidate to contest.
Yeah.
So those are the things that are actually engineered by those who are spreading hatred amongst African people. Such people should not be supported. We should support humanity. And everywhere else you find a black person, you must be on the side of that black person, because we are not wanted anywhere in the world.
And black on black hate must be strongly condemned, CIC.
Absolutely.
And also equally, our laws, I think there must be something wrong with our laws, because the Polokwane High Court has rejected a request from Zimbabwean parents to issue South African birth certificates for their kids, arguing that the kids or the children born in South Africa do not automatically or cannot be automatically be granted South African citizenship.
Well, I don't agree with that argument. That's why I say your birth is determined, your citizenship is determined by your birthplace, where your umbilical cord fell and got buried into the land. That land is now connected with you. Your connection to the land is an umbilical cord connection. So when children are still inside their mothers, their connection with their mothers is through umbilical cord. When they are born, that umbilical cord, they cut it from the mother's side, and then it will remain on the child's side. Then they will marinate it until it falls on its own. And when it falls, as Africans, we don't flush it. White people flush. We take it and then we bury it. The reason we're burying it is because we want to connect you with this land. So when you say this is our land, you mean you've got umbilical cord relationship with this land. And that's where I come from.
And the EFF has been a subject of media hostility coupled with AfriForum's propaganda for 11 years. How was the EFF CIC able to survive this and keep going on?
The EFF, it was for 11 years. They were on my case from 2008 when I became the president of the Youth League. This interview they are going to listen to it 5 times, 10 times, trying to find something they can nail me with. So the AfriForum is not an organization which should be allowed to exist in a democratic society. It's advocating for divisions. It's advocating for racial hatred. And it's advocating for anything that will stop black progress. So anyone who speaks for black people becomes the enemy of AfriForum. That's why they hate Panyaza Lesufi. Because Panyaza says the children must learn in all the schools and must learn with their own mother tongue. No one must tell them they can't speak this language or that language. So if we take over government, we're going to ban AfriForum because we cannot have an organization that advocates purely racial hatred and say it is a legitimate organization. Our constitution does not allow that. And therefore, we need a decisive government that is going to say this is a terrorist organization and we can't coexist with it. It has to fall. So AfriForum will fall because it represents backwardness. And the ANC's inability to deal with white supremacy and white arrogance is what gives life to this kind of organization. I mean, imagine there is an organization formed that says we don't want women. I mean, it will not see
Unheard of.
it will not see the next hour. If the day it gets formed, that the day is going to be banned. And that's why we are also advocating for serious restrictions and banning of foreign-funded NGOs, which serve the interest of the imperialist forces. You sit here, you're thinking this is a genuine organization, it's fighting for the poor and all of that. But when you go to check who gives them money, it's George Soros, it's the Rothschild, it's the US aligned companies, which are purely managed by CIA. And then these people, they never take anything of white people to court. No, every time they are in court, it's either they are taking a democratic government to court or they are taking some black people to court. But you have never seen them taking a farmer or a factory or a shop that is ill-treated black people to court.
Yeah, that is paying people.
If they were genuine.
Yeah.
That is paying people peanuts. There are farm workers who are paid with alcohol in some of the farms in the Western Cape and the Northern Cape. Where are these well-funded NGOs to go and fight? To go and fight that battle. So we cannot coexist with such people who exist in our country for other countries' interest, which are completely against the interest of South Africa. NGOs are more than welcomed. The NGOs must exist. They are the ones that keep us on our toes as politicians, as government. They are able to raise certain issues where we are weak, and we have to listen to them. And not only that, we have to finance them so that they can help us as government to discharge some of responsibilities. Genuine NGOs must be supported, must be protected, not this foreign-funded agent.
Yeah. And the media always tries to recycle old and baseless stories like the VBS story. And while we have genuine issues or case like the Pala matter, how do you deal with that, President? And what is the EFF's approach going forward to ensure that the sitting president accounts on the Pala matter?
Well, the VBS is a swear word. So when they want to swear at you, they say VBS. So they used to use Mazoti as a swear word. Yeah. So when they want to insult you, they say Mazoti. You see, so it doesn't even bother me. It doesn't even affect me because I know even those who are raising it, they are not genuine. If the DA says we can't relate with the EFF because of corruption and all of that, none of the EFF leaders has been charged. Not a single one of us is before court. But we can't say the same about the ANC. We've got a minister who's charged and before court. We've got a speaker who's charged and before court. And we've got so many people who are involved in the VBS, in the ANC.
Including the 12 municipalities that invested money.
Kize was asked for 2 million. Communist Party asked for 5 million. Municipalities went to put money. Who was governing those money? It's not EFF, it's the ANC. You say, no, the EFF is corrupt. We are going with the ANC. That has got scientific proof of being a corrupt organization that we've actually exposed. So you can see that the issue is not genuine. If you listen to the Minister of Justice speaking there, when all her colleagues were saying VBS this, VBS that, Minister of Justice never mentioned VBS.
Tembi
Nkadime. I know him as Tembi Nkadime. She went back to SNM. So she was there. Pulukwani put money, but Tembi was quick to withdraw that money. But Matodi's sponsored affidavit indicate that this person were working with in Polokwane, and then we involved with the Nimsiza, and then the money was transferred. But the mayor was Tembi. And then you say, we can't deal with people who have anything to do with VBS. But you're dealing with the people who are at the core, who sent money to the VBS, and then in exchange got a bribe. And they did it knowingly. So if you were to believe Matodi's affidavit, which we dispute, by the way, we don't agree with it. But let's say for a moment we agree with it. Matodi says EFF never asked for money. I volunteered to give them 5 million
as a donation.
As donation. Let's say that is how is that crime? When a businessman says, I'm donating money to you. Then he says, I said to them, I can only do it if you open a VBS account. VBS, EFF never had a VBS account.
Absolutely.
So which means EFF didn't meet the requirement of receiving the donation. Then he says Floyd gave him the account, which we dispute. Because Floyd's younger brother had business relationship, not even with VBS, with one of the entities. And they did the transactions, including the loan that they'd given to Sgamega. Right? When the curators came, they went through the books of VBS and found Sgamega in the VBS documents. And they said, no, pay back the money. What? they went to from. They said it's a loan. They produced contracts, invoices they served on these people and all of that. And curators accepted. And they said, okay, then pay the loan. We can see the loan is here. Pay the loan. They paid back the loan. So even from this Gamega side, there's nothing.
There's no case.
There's no case. They've paid back the money, which they were going to pay back either way because it was a loan from a bank.
Yeah.
So when you say, you can accept a donation that comes from the poor gogos, you should have known that bank is for the poor gogos. All banks keep money of poor people. Standard Bank donates to EFF and must now split hair and say, no, this one comes from a poor gogo. Don't give it to us. Go and take the one that comes from the rich people and give it to us. No. The banks donate to political parties. And it's not true that the banks are what they are because of rich people. The banks are what they are because of poor people. Capitec, the biggest money loan sharks in South Africa.
Yeah.
It's a bank with so much money of poor people. And yet, the people of Capitec donate money to DA. Why are you not saying, why is DA taking the money of poor people? It's the money from the bank. It's donated to them. And at that time when those requirements were needed, if money had been donated to us, we would have declared it because we don't have any criminal relationship with those guys of VBS. I mean, the guy says, when I said I'm going to donate the money, they understood that I mean bribe, right? But I meet you for the first time. I don't know you. And then we speak, and then you say we're going to donate. No problem. I mean, that's what happens all the time. Business people say, we're going to donate to the EFF. No problem. Refer them to the relevant department, which will be the Treasurer General. And why would I understood that to mean bribe? Because we don't know each other. I don't know the language you speak, that a donation means corrupt dealings. But in exchange for what? Because if you say we did it in exchange for silencing EFF on Zuma's loan, go and check after the dates that they are talking about as to what has been the EFF stance on that, on the VBS. Even in the councils, where the EFF was demanding that the monies must be paid back, the monies must be withdrawn, and the people and officials who are responsible and politicians who are responsible must be punished. So we're never, ever at some point silenced by anyone, not to speak about a VBS negative.
And the big elephant now in the room is the Phala issue, which the media tries to sweep under the carpet. The EFF has been vocal enough in Parliament, even went to court to ensure that there's accountability in this. Now, how far are we in making sure that we're bringing the buffalo down on its knees? CIC?
Well, we were going to the Constitutional Court. The Speaker declined to bring the matter back. And the Progressive Caucus is going to find ways to bring a fresh motion in relation to Phala in Parliament. But that doesn't stop the court process, which by end of July, we should have complied with the directives of the Chief Justice Office, where he said by this date, you should have done this, they should have done this, they should have done that. And then from there, they will tell us if they want to hear the matter and when will the matter be heard. So we are on the right track. Nothing personal about that. Is to hold the executive accountable. Guedes says, why do you fight with for individuals' money? It's his money. Leave him alone. All of that. We don't have a problem with his money. We have a problem with trading with foreign currency when you know that there is only one trendy currency in South Africa and it's the rand. And to show that you knew you were doing something wrong, you put the money under mattress. By doing that, you are bringing the office of the president into disrepute. And that's what the panel found, that there are serious questions, impeachable questions, that the president will have to answer. The former Chief Justice said so, has got nothing to lose or achieve. He just objectively interpreted what was presented before him and said the man must be held accountable. The ANC used its majority to suppress the issue. The ANC no longer has majority now. Why can't we, who voted for this matter before, do the same now? What has changed? Why is the DA now singing a different tune? On the same grounds that we supported this matter, nothing has changed. We use the same reason, the same issue, to say, let's have impeachment process. What's wrong with that? Well, what has changed, except that you got blue lights? That's the only thing that has changed. Or now you exist for expediency. You no longer exist for principle. Even with the blue lights, if you are an anti-corruption crusade, you claim to be, and that's why you hate the EFF because it's corrupt. Go after the corrupt, illegal activities of the president. A person occupying that office must be beyond reproach because it's the highest office in South Africa.
So the DA now is seen to be protecting the sitting president, whom they initially were against prior to the elections, but now because they've been rewarded with positions, they sing a different tune.
Yes.
Now, President, the progressive caucus charter has been formed. What informs the charter and all the parties that are uniting in the progressive caucus? How are they going to deliver on the commitments of the charter in the face of this GNU that is not trustworthy?
Well, the charter, when people chose luxury and air-conditioned offices and blue lights, the progressive caucus chose the side of the people and said, we need to agree on a minimum program. We need to expropriate land without compensation. That motion must serve in Parliament, which the ANC supported before. And we want to see what has changed now if they don't support it. But there is also an ANC resolution in their conference in 2017 that said we need to expropriate. We need to nationalize the Reserve Bank and nationalize the banks, the mines and other strategic sectors of the economy. We need to cancel the student debt and give them free education. We need to fight for free quality health care, which will not be a pass for the rich private practitioners. We need to build capacity in the public health. And we need to build houses for our people, give them water, give them sanitation. How are we going to do that? We're going to do that through putting motions in that parliament and let the GNU vote against those people. I mean, we want to put a motion that says in 2025, there shouldn't be a single disabled person without a house. We must eradicate that in a year. Why? It is possible because there are not so many disabled people. I mean, in the community where you come from, you can't count them beyond the fingers of your hands. So where are these disabled people? How are we going to find them? We're going to find them because we're already giving them SASSA, money, disability grant. So what the follow-up should be of these disability grant beneficiaries, how many of them are not properly housed? And then we build them houses. Let the ANC oppose that motion. if it's a GNU, if it's a caring government, why can't we vote for housing all disabled people in South Africa as part of our commitment to practically change the lives of the needy and of those who cannot do for themselves?
Your conviction was you were not going to join, or the EFF is not going to be part of the GNU, given that the DA and Freedom Front Plus are players in the GNU. What are the considerations leading up to that, conviction, as you say?
Well, Freedom Front is an apartheid project, and Freedom Front leaders were actually played an active role in apartheid. And the Freedom Front still advocates for Afrikanerdom, where there will be a state of Afrikaners. That's why they say we are fighting for self-determination. That's Freedom Front wanting an exclusive place of Afrikaners. How do you
Like
relate,
Orania.
like Orania? How do you relate with such people? And we had made a commitment that if we win elections, we're actually going to build RDP houses in Orania. And put our, that's the only way we can take our people there. We put sanitation, we put electricity, roads, we build schools, allow people to build shopping complexes, clinics, and then from there say, come, those who want to houses in Orania, come and stay here. No one can chase them away. No court will allow them to remove those people. That's how you de-racialize that particular place. If Orania is a private farm that is owned by private individuals, we buy the farm next door. We're together. The people
must share.
Yeah, the people must share. There's no one who's going to be staying alone. So that's what makes us not want to work with apartheid beneficiaries. DA represent whiteness, white supremacists. It's controlled and founded by the Oppenheimers who want to retain the status quo. So how do you say we want to change society by working with people who say nothing should change? If anything, colonialism was the best thing because it's the one that brought you tar road. You should be celebrating it. We cannot give such responsibility to the DA. The reason why they gave DA agriculture and gave PAC land is because they were fooling us. Agriculture is prime land. It's a land we're looking for. So instead of saying DA controls the land, they say, no, it's agriculture. But what is agriculture without land? So that is a prime land.
Farming is done on the land.
Yes. So then you give you impression that no, we didn't give PAC land. DA land, we gave it to the left, which is PAC. But when you check in that PAC's portfolio, there's nothing. Because our problems with the land is commercial farms. And only through ownership of commercial farms and agriculture will we guarantee food security. Because if these white African racist farmers one day decide to close their gates and say, today we are not providing stable food, we'll go straight into hunger because we don't produce our own and we don't own the farms. So how do you give agriculture to a person who wants to maintain the status quo? So we need that agriculture to change the status quo and have majority of farmers being blacks, because this land belongs to them and not rotten land only. We want land to farm, want land to open industries, want land to beneficiate the resources of South Africa here in South Africa.
What is your diagnostic conclusion on the EFF's performance on the 2024 elections? And for those that have voted for the EFF, how are they going to benefit in the next 5 years?
Well, the EFF did not perform to our expectation, but it still did good. We were up against a huge fight where millions and millions were pumped into this election to stop the EFF. Rise Muzanzi, Bossa, Sarah, Shiluba, and DA got the biggest chunk of that money. There was another one formed called Change, which got 30 million and never qualified to get signatures to contest for elections. They were prepared to dish out money to destroy an opposition party. Where have you ever seen it? That people are not so much interested in the ruling party. They are interested in stopping, the opposition party.
Hence, we declared enemy number one.
We declared enemy number one. And then Rise Muzanzi issues SMSs that don't, disparate SMSs, don't vote for EFF. They are rude. They are rowdy. It's like the people are talking in a Stockfell. How do you issue an SMS like that? But you must know that that SMS system is very expensive, dedicated to the EFF. Media onslaught against the EFF was so huge. They are just disappointed this Matozi affidavit did not come up during the elections. But my information is that they wanted him to sign it during the elections so that they can finish off the EFF. Our own comrades in the EFF went against a huge force politically.
True.
The whole capital putting money together to stop the EFF, even before we govern. And that should tell you, why is this organization so hated to an extent that people are prepared to spend so much money? If the DA says it has received 250 million donations from these people, you must know it's $1 billion. They're only declaring that one. But there's a huge amount of money that went out to stop the EFF. So much money to just reduce EFF with 1% and want to project it as the biggest loser when there is a ruling party that lost 17% and even went beyond 50%. That is not an issue to them. They want to demoralize the EFF by saying, no, you lost votes, you are on your way out. It's not true. We are much more stronger now, hence our performance this past 2 weeks in Parliament. We are much more determined now. Kaspedi bare o tshetsela morao a so tshaba go kreya matla. So when we come back, we are going to be more than what we were, because those who were not with us, when you lose votes, they are going to start running away from you because they become friends with you on the basis that if you make progress, they stand to benefit. So you are going to have those kind of opportunistic business people withdrawing from supporting you. You are going to have those opportunistic leaders resigning the organization and insulting it. Why do you insult us as if we got more seats and still decided not to include you? We didn't get more seats. If anything, we lost seats. So who should have lost these seats for you? So you don't get removed because someone hates you. You get removed because there are not many seats. So the EFF is like the sea. It cleans itself. It gets rid of rubbish. And then it comes back highly determined. So when we started, we were at 6%. We moved to 10%. We are now at 9.8%. We are not where we started. We're still very far from where we started. So that's why I'm more confident that the EFF is here to stay, and no one will shake it. the people of South Africa very soon will realize that actually this organization is being attacked because it represents the truth and nothing else. That's why they want to silence us by saying you are disrespectful and this. That's ageism. That when someone speaks against you and exposes your weakness, as long as they are younger than you, you say no, they're disrespectful. The president stands up in parliament and lie about me that I insulted his father. Okay, how did he insult your father? He said my father was a policeman.
How is that an insult?
How is that an insult? When I say your mom is a nurse, how is that an insult? I didn't say it, but he says, yeah, I'm even proud that my father was a policeman. So why would you view that as an insult? I've not said that. I've never said that. Me and him have got cordial respect for one another. And when there are issues of national importance and interest, we converse about them and try to persuade him to take a particular direction. Even now, with the DA arrangement, I had one-on-one with him to try and persuade him. And I told him in that meeting, we seek no position. If you don't want to work with us, that's fine. But don't work with the DA. Constitute a minority government, which will be allowed to consult people from time to time when you want to take decisions. That also is democratic. They've done it in Gauteng. If they can do it in Gauteng, what stops them from doing it national? So they that's what they said with Mandela, by the way. And Winnie Mandela tells the story very well, that the elders of the ANC at some point, President Uma, if I'm not wrong, went to Winnie's house. And Winnie says the way he was so angry, he didn't come inside the house. He stood outside the gate and said, you must tell that Nelson that this ANC does not belong to him, that these Boers are going to kill him. He is adventurous. He's disrespectful. They used to say that about Mandela. Mandela was worse. Mandela used to disrupt meetings of the Communist Party physically, engaged in physical fight with people who were in the Communist Party meetings because he said Communist Party was a foreign concept which seeks to undermine the liberation movement, the ANC. And they called him disrespectful. Today they speak very highly of 1976 youth. And they say we must celebrate them. This youth must emulate. They condemned them. Actually, the ANC's first statement from exile about the uprising was that kids belong to a classroom and they should stop what they are doing. They didn't immediately embrace it because it was not of their own making. So when you are young and you are in politics, you should expect such utterances. I've heard those things so many times. You're being disrespectful and all of that. Because the ageist can't take the robustness from the young ones. And the young ones have got no duty, none whatsoever, to comply with the expectation of the old ones. Because we are determining our own destination. They determined their own, and we should do the same. So I always tell my wife that politicians are hated when they are young, and they are loved when they are older. And artists are loved when they are young and hated when they are older. That's why they are no longer called artists. They give them some concept called legends. So once they start calling you that, you must know they are no longer interested. Once in a while, you will get something. That's unlike us. When we are young, we are hated. When we are older, we are loved. That's why people can say to you, but this Julius, man, he sounds now more mature. Unlike that time, it's not true. As you get older, they start to give you that kind of respect. But the issues are the same. I've been saying the same things, saying them the same way I'm saying them. But I can tell you there is a big chunk Or people say, no, but this time,
Yeah.
he's so mature, even the issues he raises.
Yeah.
But these are the same issues.
Mm-hmm.
I was hated because I was young. And they're beginning to love me when I'm older. That's why they love 82-year-old Zuma.
Mm-hmm.
It's because politicians are loved when they are older.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that reaffirms that society is adjusting to the reality. And you are pointing out that you have always been robust, CIC. And I've seen one video of you. I think it was the late Jackson Tembo addressing, and you were very aggrieved. I don't know what was happening there, but that shows that indeed that is your character.
I've been engaged like that. I know Jackson very well. That video you're watching, it's a video of the night vision of the former president, the first president of COSAS, Ephraim Mogale.
Oh, okay.
It was at his funeral where Jackson was suppressing us not to sing. And we're like, no, but this is a night vision. You can't be addressing us. You go outside, have drinks, and come back here to address us. Night vision is about singing. It's about honoring the legend in a form of songs. So I've been like that. And we disagree now. But when we live here, we're the best of friends. I hold no grudges. I've forgiven a lot of people who did wrong to me because such is life. So I might engage you in a very robust manner to a point where you think these people are going to physically fight. And I will never fight with a comrade physically because we've got a political disagreement. When comrades say, oh, they're about to fight, this comrade is going to fight this one. No, they will never fight. They are comrades. That's why they are called comrades. They will never fight. So we grew up like that. I grew up in COSAS. I mean, there's a boy there who stood up yesterday called Kenny Morolo. I defeated him. He stood against me in COSAS, wanting to be the president, and I was elected the president. So he still holds that grudge. And you know what happened? Apparently, after I defeated him, he was admitted in a rehab for alcohol. So it's a certified alcoholic. So yesterday when he was speaking there, I almost stood up and said, you want to go back to rehab? You are starting. Don't start with me because I'll send you back to rehab.
And those that have left the EFF CIC, you have alluded to the fact that the Red Sea always cleanses itself. Do you believe that that might come at some stage and haunt the EFF, or you strongly believe that the EFF is intact and is going to continue to grow despite those who leave the party and talk bad about it?
Better few, but better. I mean, Castro tells you he fought for the liberation of Cuba with very few men. And those men, if he was to be asked to go back to war with the same men, he will choose them again. Because it was quality leadership, which had amongst them Che Guevara. So, sometimes you say you've got 10 people, and then you plan the war based on 10 people, only to find that the 4 are not with you. And remember, they are all given positions. Only to find that you are pouring from that end because there's no soldier there. And once you plan a war with 10 people, and then you only to find that you didn't have 10, you have 6, you're already defeated. Rather be with genuine men that are with you, not for anything else, but for the revolution. So, I don't know why would people leave the EFF and howl so much insults on us. They spend an hour or so per day dedicating it to the EFF. You can see it's not hatred. is envy, is obsession. And at times it will need psychiatrists to observe it because it's
The
becoming
mental issue.
it's a mental issue. It's becoming suicidal. It's dangerous. So the EFF will never be haunted by people who were never with the EFF. Staff riders, we said this when we were forming the EFF, there are going to be a lot of staff riders. And these staff riders will fall off on our way to the economic freedom. So that's what we see. I always ask when a person resigns as to, okay, what happened? Like, and I can genuinely tell you that these people are not true to themselves. They are talking about positions. They didn't get positions. The only thing materially that happened is position. Nothing ideologically and policy-wise has changed. You can't say they've changed from what they were because they changed the following. No. You just start creating stories that, no, I don't want Borderles Africa, what. Okay. But you don't want this term. Yes, I don't want this term. But you join a party that is going to make you sing this term. What is that? Like,
position mongering.
Yeah, you are looking for positions. And we shouldn't be bothered by such people. There are a lot of people in the EFF who have lost positions, who remained loyal and disciplined members of the organization. And because the EFF is not a pig, it doesn't eat its own. It always remembers its children. So I don't want to go through individuals' names because I can tell you this one, the weaknesses were here. We tried to protect, help, support, still did not come to the party. All I'm asking of the leadership of the EFF and the membership of the EFF is that come to the party. You must earn your seat on the table. What value are you bringing to the table? So that's all. We are not a Stockfell. We are not friends. What brings us together is the revolution. What is your contribution? Your individual contribution. Except that you are just sitting here because you stand to benefit. You benefit by presence. When the leadership look this side looking for someone, they find you. There are many people who are just present. When you go to read the minutes for the past 5 years, they were in the CCT. They've never said anything. The only time they spoke is when the chairperson said, who's the mover of the agenda is the same person. Who's the seconder is the same person. That's the only thing. So they benefit by presence, not because they bring any value to the organization. Be aware of such elements, of imposters, of people who come and pretend to be what they are not. So I'm not worried because many of them, by the way, who left, say they want to come back. But the constitution of the EFF does not allow you to come back.
Check in, check out.
Yeah, it's not holiday in. There's no check in, check out. So once you check out, it's done. So they say, oh, and one of my former friends in CICU says, he checked in, and then upon realizing the things that he was looking for in the immediate, they are not there, he checked out. Right? Now, recently says, no, I know the constitution doesn't allow me to come back, but please can you allow me to wear the T-shirt? We say, there's no problem. Because there is what we call membership, and there's what we call supporters. So you can be a supporter of the EFF without being its member. There's a guy who spoke in one of the interviews when we're going to the elections who said, I'm going to vote for the EFF, but I will not join it. Because tomorrow when they disappoint me, I want to vote for another party. without being called a political prostitute, because I'd never belonged to a party, but
Yeah.
I'll vote for them. So if they are genuinely believing in the cause and they regret leaving the organization, let them be supporters and mobilize people behind the flag of the EFF. You require no card to do so.
And let me remind you, CIC, Fidel Castro says, condemn me, but it doesn't matter. History will absolve
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. History
Yeah.
will absolve me. And that's why I'm genuine to the cause. I hate positions in all respect. I want us to first agree on principles. Then we can say who is better suited to execute these principles. So I don't start with positions, and it has never been for positions for me. I've always engaged on issues, and I always said, when I start a sentence, when we're disagreeing, I don't make you to want to listen for too long without hearing where I stand. I tell you from the beginning,
Yeah.
I disagree with that point, and I will show you why I disagree with that point.
Now, talking about positions, the president, the EFF is gearing up for the third National People's Assembly in December. What can we look forward to? What are some of the key areas that the NPA will be focusing on?
Well, the MPA is sitting, if I'm not mistaken, from the 12th to the 15th. I stand to be corrected, in Nazareth. And there will be a political report. We have to give a political accountability of our terms since we elected 5 years ago. And that report will, amongst other things, take into consideration international and domestic balance of forces and whether the balance of forces are in favor of forces of change or not. And what are we using to arrive at the conclusion that the forces domestically and internationally are not in favor or are in favor of the progressive forces. And it will receive organizational report, which will include everything else that the organization has done for the past 5 years, including the report on these elections. Then the treasurer will give the treasurer's report. From there will be an amendment of the constitution just before the nomination of the new leadership. And then there will be documents, discussion documents, policy discussion documents, which will be published very soon. And those documents will constitute the core of the commissions to discuss the program of the EFF for the next 5 years. So the EFF made resolutions, adopted a program of action for the past 5 years. Now we're going to be told, we're going to be asked, how far did you go in implementing our resolutions and the program of action? I don't see anything going wrong. We are now going to gear ourselves up for that NPA. The SG will issue the timelines. But we've now come up with a new criteria that says a branch in good standing is a branch that has got 100 members, 100 paid up members who are registered voters in that particular area. And that ward, EFF should have received 10% upwards. Because that indicates that there is an EFF there. When you come to the conference of the EFF, you are coming to represent who? Because where you come from, there is no EFF.
Okay.
Until you have formed the EFF where you come from,
Yeah.
then you can come to its conference. And we'll introduce in that constitution an amendment that suggests that in the CCT, there will not be an individual without matric. And in the top 6, there will not be an individual without post-matric qualification. Because we take this thing of education very serious. We're not like DA.
Yeah.
DA. Remember, the reason why we are all so educated now, we're told that we require education to become better people. When we got education and getting more black people to be educated, they now say, no. You require experience. They always shift the goalpost. Now we are matching them in terms of skills. They now move and say, you require experience. You require experience because white people have got experience which we don't have. We are at a disadvantaged position. They were born into privilege. So it's important that the ground, the word, must say we are the word of the EFF by showing us the results of elections. Because we are not just a branch of a Stokvel where we come and donate 20 rand. We are a branch to deliver the votes. And these votes will earn us higher positions and more representation going forward.
So the conference of the NPA of the EFF is not about positions or electing people into positions. There's groundwork.
There's going to be, it's going to 80% of its work is going to be on policy discussions and policy direction, and elections is going to be by the way. But what you are guaranteed of is that we're not going to have a mob. We're going to have quality. Quality delegates who come from the wards that support the vision of the EFF. Do you want to lead the EFF? Do you want to go to their conferences? Do you want to represent them anywhere? Yes. Get 10% plus where you come from, so that we know you're not representing your jacket. Because you have branches that get 100 members. They launch. They elect this one chairperson, that one secretary, because he was able to buy their membership cards. But that branch gets less than 100 votes. How do you get less than 100 votes when you say you've got 100 members there?
It's highly questionable.
It's a questionable membership. It means it's not a true reflection
bogus
of what we're told. It's a bogus membership. So how do you deal with the bogus membership? You have to develop other mechanisms. Organization must always modernize. Don't want to be like the ANC, even when it's not benefiting anything from individuals. It still just pushes those individuals for factional purposes. We need to come from where the EFF exists. For now, at least for now. Because those are the requirements, at least for now. But going forward, the EFF must be led. It might not be a resolution of this National People's Assembly. The EFF must be led by people who come from the wards that are won by the EFF. Because if we're a constituency base, it means we're going to lose the constituency you come from. If you want us to believe in you, why do people where you come from don't believe in you? Why? There will be those exceptional cases, of course. But certain scenarios are just not acceptable.
People who can't even pay for buses.
You can't pay for buses, you can't bring membership.
But you want positions.
You want positions. You know why? But vote. You don't know your neighbor. You're so rude. You're so inaccessible. People get shocked to hear that you are a leader. Actually, they get shocked to hear that you come from their area. Moeta Pele, who can greet people. The simplest etiquette of just being a human being. You pass your own leaders here in the EFF because you are riding a high horse. You pass your own leaders here at the EFF, not greeting them. Why? Because you look down at them. The people will never vote for the leadership that has never bonded with them. We need to be at one with our people. So we must not just be quantity. It must be that quantity must be translated into quality. And that's what we're trying to do with these new guidelines towards replacement of people who moved to legislature and parliament and towards people who now want to stand as candidates. What candidates of the EFF? You know, a person becomes a candidate of the EFF. He goes to vote in a by-election. It's him, it's the wife, it's the 2 kids. You know what happens? He gets 1 vote. Yeah. Even when he has gone with 4 family members, he gets 1 vote. His family doesn't believe this person can be a leader, his own family. But he was in a position enough to bribe EFF, so-called EFF members who are bogus, to nominate him because he thought with an EFF duke on his head, he will emerge. But even his own family doesn't accept this guy as a leader. How would the community accept this guy as a leader? Why are the EFF leaders thinking that because I'm a chairperson, I automatically qualify to be a candidate, even when you know you don't have mass appeal? There's an old man there who loves the EFF very much, who owns a shop, who's called uncle by everyone in the community. Why can't you go and ask that man as a branch, can you please come and be our what candidate? Hey, na akinyaki di politika hawa papa ha o le mo councillor o bereka ka di issue tsa setšhaba tsona tse o berekang ka tsona. Why can't you speak to that pastor? Why can't you speak to that principal? Why should it always be about you? When we ask you, give us your CV of community involvement. You have never been to any single community cleanup campaign, but you want to lead those people.
Are you going to stand as a presidential candidate in the upcoming NPA CIC?
If I'm nominated by the branches of the EFF, I will stand. And if I'm not nominated, I will accept. And I will remain a disciplined and a loyal member of the EFF because I've got somewhere to go. Where is that? I'll go and do farming. A lot of people don't want to leave positions because they've never imagined the day after positions. In the ANC, old men and women used to tell us, so but I will always be there to support the cause of the organization. And when you remove me, you do it in a respectful manner. Because I'm a founder president of this organization. That you can't take away from me. So you ought to do it in a manner that is not offensive and disrespectful and will want me to mount a fight against those who want to rudely deal with me. I must always be called and be engaged. That we've made the following observations and we think you have played your role and this is where it ends. If done so in a respectful manner like that, I'll accept it. I don't like this character assassination of people who have done well for the organization. But because now we suffer from uncontrollable ambition for power, we go around character assassinating, the leadership. Like I'm hearing, character assassination of our current Secretary General. And I told them I will not agree with that. If the Secretary General has got an issue, you guys are going to bring it to us and we will engage the Secretary General. You're not going to rudely just rough tackle him. That's why all former leaders of the EFF are still with the EFF. The former national chair is still there. The former SG is still there. The former TG, DSG, they're still there. They were respectfully engaged. And they were never character assassinated to a point where they felt humiliated and had to mount a fight against those who were rudely dealing with them. So as we enter this era of preparing for NPA, sometimes that era is called the era of madness. So do not drown in that madness. You must always maintain the decorum and don't be tempted to want to be put against your own by opportunists who will do everything to see the EFF divided. It's very important that leaders ought to be engaged in a very respectful way. The way President Zuma is so vicious now against these people is because of the way they engaged him. They should have done everything in their power to engage him. Why do you engage him? You neutralize him. When people talk to you, you don't, in a radical manner, fight back as if you're fighting enemies. But the day you fight him like you fight an enemy, you're pushing him against the wall. He's got nowhere to go. But it's going to come.
Yes.
It's going to come for you. So let's be careful now as we enter this era where we're not being put against each other, to even engage in social media and media campaigns to discredit our own. We'll still need each other after this. I'm not in this for positions. I'm in this to serve the cause. And outside this, I do business. Because I don't want to ask the question, after this. I must leave. And this farming I'm doing now, I even tell them, the reason why I don't go for huge quality of cattle or goats or sheep is because this is a university for me. I'm still at school. I don't want to retire and take my retirement money, throw it into farming I know nothing about. Then in a 3-6 months time, you are told your former president is there walking without shoes because he didn't know how to invest his own money.
Are you currently being engaged by any structures of the EFF or any leaders of the EFF that President, perhaps you have served enough, please go and rest?
No one has engaged me, even to avail myself. No one has asked me to leave. No one has asked me to stay. So for sure, they're still gathering strength to come and say whatever they want to say. But I'm the most available person. Whoever is looking for me, they can simply make an appointment and come. And we'll engage.
But I'll say that the leadership that we have right now is quite all right.
We have absolutely no crisis at all. Well, conference has got a right to chop and change. But my advice to the conference will be continuity and change. You don't just wipe everybody out because there are people behind who are saying, no, it's our time to come in. You will lose institutional memory. But equally, you can't be going to each conference to change people. You are not giving an organization an opportunity to settle down and be able to adjust to this kind of leadership style. We're still at a formative stage, and we don't have to be in a hurry for anything. That's why with these election results, we're not demoralized or anything, because ours, it's a generational mission.
Absolutely. And President, when were you persuaded into the political arena? When did you start your political activism? And looking back, would you then say where we are now, you have sufficiently reached your goal, or there's still a way to go?
I started politics at a very early age, at 9 years, because my area was highly politically charged. And at some point, I was even candidate for exile I realize now that that time when they said they were taking us to exile, actually people were returning back to exile. There was no longer exile, but we were told we're going to skip the country. There's nothing politically I haven't done. I've made my contribution. And even if I were to die tomorrow, I will die with no regret because I would have made my contribution. The little contribution I've made, it's a little contribution that the generations to come will remember. And that's why I'm not obsessed with positions. I always brag when I'm with the leadership that, you know, one of the things you will never take away from me, whether you like me or not, is that I'm the founding president of the EFF. So you cannot make reference to history and not refer to me. That's how much contribution I've made. There's still much more to be done. I still believe I can serve our people, my people in different capacities, and change their lives for the better.
Yep.
If I can do this with what I've done now, the building of the EFF from a zero budget, imagine with resources how much we can be impactful in the lives of our people,
including these beautiful studios. CIC.
Yeah, I mean these studios, the building, and one thing that you guys don't know is that we have even a music studio where these boys of Amapiano go and record their songs there for free. We don't say no because you used our water, electricity. You must credit us in the song. No. We told them.
Yeah.
We told Tulani, any talent that you unearth and there is no resources for that person to go and buy studio time, take them to the EFF studio.
Yeah.
Record music because we believe in this thing that we're doing. This platform has been a source of alternative information because the mainstream media has actually censored the truth. They lie a lot to a point where we start believing their lie. So you guys, in a way, are trying to create an alternative platform where the truth can be told. And I do not want this studio to be reduced to EFF leaders only, former leaders only. You can call anyone that you think has got a story to tell to come here. It doesn't make them EFF. You can call Oskido to come and explain the history of Kwaito. Later on, you call Maporisa to come and explain the history of Amapiano and all the controversies around him. People are interested. We don't want this studio to be a political animal. We want it to be an alternative platforms where the stories of our people are told uncensored. But
Absolutely.
we must know that we are a political party. In as much as we are accommodative of everything, from time to time, there has to be political engagement. But don't be boring, man. This should not be a Tobel FM. No, people will go listen to Tobel FM. Why must they listen to you? You ought to come up with very creative ideas, exciting ideas, ideas that will grow the mindset of our people in a very relaxed and exciting way. And I think so far we have done so well. Because other political parties tried, and it didn't last for a week or 2 weeks.
Less than 1,000 views.
Even the first interview, the quality was so poor. The quality was so poor. So we are one of the political parties that when it does things, you must do them to the best of your ability, or else go home. We don't do half moja. And that's what you need to keep going. Newspapers are closing down. A lot of newspapers are going to be closing down, which means this will now become the necessary platform for the people of South Africa. Tell the truth, ask difficult questions in a respectful way, not in a reckless, disrespectful way of clowners. No, there must be element of seriousness, but you ought to ask uncomfortable questions. That's what this platform is about.
Yeah, you go big or go home.
Yes.
So CIC, yesterday, Benjamin, the Prime Minister of Israel, was addressing the Congress in the U.S., and now we understand the U.S. is getting up for elections. We understand that the U.S. has good relations with African countries, particularly the sub-Saharan countries where they've imposed sanctions. If Donald Trump wins, what is the likelihood? Do you see the exacerbation of these embargoes in African countries? Do we see the war in Gaza extending, going beyond?
Well, the Republicans and the Democrats are two sides of the same coin. So if it's 50 cents, it's 50 cents. It doesn't matter from which side are you looking at. They are all the same.
Yeah.
They are an imperialism which survives through sucking blood out of poor nations. The war in Israel against Gaza will continue. It might not be highly funded, highly supported the same way they were doing under Sleepy Joe. But Trump is a strong supporter of Israel. But Trump is not a fanatic for wars for some reason. So we still stand to see how they are going to advance that cause. But what was interesting is that Netanyahu goes to America when there is a warrant of arrest against him. The Americans, because they are not a signatory to the international law, they don't do anything. It doesn't even become an issue because he's one of them. But if it was one of us with a warrant of arrest and he visits South Africa,
Like Putin.
they like Putin, which we successfully failed. We failed him. We were all over and saying all manner of things to a point where we persuaded him not to come. They do as they wish. So we shouldn't expect anything much either side.
CIC, so what is the song of the day, the song that you would like to dedicate to the fighters?
Yeah, well, we are at Winnie Mandela House, the mother of the nation, a title that was never bestowed on her through a conference. She earned that title because she has been working with our people on the ground, fighting for their liberation. A woman who was rejected, a president who was denied, a female president who was denied office, the most radical to the grave, uncompromising, fearless woman who loved her people. So we should always, when given opportunity, celebrate it. Because those who choose leaders for us will want us to forget our own leaders. We know our leaders. We must choose our own leaders. No one must choose leaders for us. And therefore, I'm dedicating the song Winnie Mandela to the fighters and to all the ground forces. And I say to the ground forces, thank you very much for the hard work. It was difficult. You put up a fight. And do not be discouraged. There's still more fights to be fought. We're now preparing 2026. It starts now. Even when you have not gotten 10% and you're not coming to the conference, it's not the end of you. It's the beginning of you working very hard and not just paying lip service to the cause. So let's give them Winnie Mandela.
Yeah, and I'll be playing this song all the way to Kimberley, CIC, Northern Cape, where we are celebrating 11th anniversary.
Yes. I will see you, all of you, in Kimberley. If you are a leader, you are a fighter, you must always have the means. It's called a national rally in Kimberley because national is only responsible for paying for the costs that are happening in Kimberley. But why would you be a leader of the EFF and just sit in Polokwane? Hire Kumbi, drive, and come and celebrate your organization.
Leaders must lead.
You must lead by example. You can't be a leader watching on TV. No, you don't have to come in your big numbers or anything. You don't have to incur a lot of cost. But come, let's celebrate the movement they wanted to kill on the 29th of May. It has once more emerged victorious, and it is worth celebrating on Saturday, on the when we celebrate the 26th July movement. So let's meet all of us in Kimberley this coming Saturday. I think.
Believe the CIC Kimberley.
Guaranteed.
Thank you very much, CIC, for coming through and sharing with us the wisdom and giving us the clarity of thought. All the roads lead to Kimberley this weekend. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. This is the EFF podcast. We are signing out with Winnie Mandela as we drive all the way to Kimberley for the EFF 11th anniversary. And the CIC President Julius Malema will be delivering the keynote address on Saturday. So you don't want to miss that one. Kimberley. We've come to the end of the show. Thank you very much. My name is Titus Tsungu. Until we meet again,
Sinethimba kumama wethu, sinethimba kumama wethu, ayibozinzi Mandela, ayibomama womsabalasa, ayibozinzi Mandela.